the slice. Got to roll the dice, that's why all my life I've been grinding all my life. Look, I got everything I said I was gonna get on my kid. In addition to that fact, I went legit.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. How are we doing today? Happy Monday. How are we doing today? How's anybody doing anything special over the weekend? Anybody? Everybody's enjoying their Monday? Oh, grateful to be. I'm grateful to be here as well. I'm above ground for another day, able to provide and do what I love. Do we have any new timers? First time on the call? Anybody's first time on the call, first time on a wealth management session call. Welcome, Jason. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, everybody. Yes, I always love new people. Yes. Welcome. Where are my vets at? Where are those vets? Where's those vets? Those people been rocking with me since day one. Vet Bernard, yup. Big vet Catherine, yup. Yeah, Lydia, those are my vets right there. So vets are essentially people that's been here from the beginning, learning a lot of that wealth talk, learning a lot of that finance talk. My name is Nicholas Samuel. I am one of the wealth management educators on this platform. I train Mondays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Manny Soto trains Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. During these calls, we focusing on everything finance, everything wealth, assets, liabilities, trust, life insurance, everything under the financial sun. So if you're interested in finances or you just don't know what finances are, these calls are the best calls to come to because we break things down in very simple terms. And we do different trainings every week. So this week's training, we're having a wealth management panel. So if you were at our first wealth management panel for those vets, you know we have in store today. I have a very special guest with us today, and he's really going to give us insight onto his financial journey within this space and even things he was able to do outside of this space. Is anybody in this chat familiar with Imran Ritchie, Mr. Ritchie, Hemron? Can we get some Hemrons in the chat if you're familiar with Mr. Ritchie? Hemron. Yup. So that is our Hemron. Yes. That is our special guest for today. I'm actually very excited for this call, and even before I bring him up, I just want to give a little background from this person right here. I actually grew up with this person. We went to the same high school together. This guy was on the basketball team. I've seen his determination and how he's able to translate that into the career that he's in and the success that he's doing today has been beautiful. So I actually had the pleasure of working with Imran Ritchie in the past within this space to really help him structure and understand his finances. And I would say he's one of he's one of those individuals that I worked with that I see really like, okay, I'm focusing on like trying to make my money, trying to do what's best for my money, but also how can I multiply my money? Not really getting too caught up with the glitz and glams that this industry may have, but more so, okay, let me take what I learned from this industry and apply it to the different assets. And this is a guy at a very young age who was able to acquire multiple assets and multiply it. And those are the conversations we're going to have today. Like Imran has done a lot, and he's going to do a lot more simply due to his mindset. And I would say like that's the biggest thing I want you to take from like what Imran has to say today is think about the mindset he's doing with it. And like at this young age, 27, 26 years old, having that mindset and keeping that same pedigree and focus when he's older, you're going to see like Imran's going to be one of those people that flourishes within this opportunity, but also gateways into other opportunities. So I'm going to bring Imran up. He's actually here. I'm going to take the spotlight off of me for a second. But Mr. Ritchie, are you there? Are you there with me?
Yes, sir. I'm here. I think you just got to make me co-host if possible.
Yep, I just moved the spotlight, so you should be good to go.
Beautiful. You guys should be able to see me right now.
Can you guys see Imran? Can we see Imran? Yep, okay. Good now, yep.
They said, hold on, they said no.
Can you see him now?
Okay, yeah, they said yes.
Mr. Ritchie.
Yes, sir.
How you doing today, man?
I'm doing well, man. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm actually honored, to be considered kind of, for the wealth management call. And just like you said, just a little bit about yourself. I know you spoke about me, but like I said, we did grow up together. A year older than me. I'm 26 years old. I believe you're 27 or 28.
I'm 28. I just turned 28.
28. And just a little bit about Nicholas Samuel, guys. We went to the same high school together, and he's always been somebody who who's always been about, finances. If you guys don't know, he's actually a certified public accountant, a CPA. He's actually been able to work with me in the past, just in terms of being my accountant. So a lot of the things I'll probably talk about today, I can't, I can't go or discredit the fact that this is an individual who's been able to help me along the way. So I'm excited. I'm excited to give value today, just some experiences.
Nice. So, like, hop into it, and I would say too, like, even before we start this call, like, this is the conversation that me and Emma are going to have today. These are essentially conversations like when me and Emron talking like as like client talking to my client. This is like how me and Emron naturally talk. There's very high level conversations, and we're really focused in on like we're not gossiping. We don't want to talk like parlay or the stuff. We're talking about okay, what type of assets, what are we doing to help ourselves and also the people that come after us. So just giving that thing, just like make sure you have your notebook ready and everything because this guy can provide a lot of value. And I want to like the first question I want to start off asking is what was your first introduction to investing and how has your mindset like changed since you like first got introduced to investing?
For sure. So for me, my first introduction to investing was investing into a business. So I'll talk about it. So right after I graduated from school in 2018, I graduated college in 2018. I knew I wanted to be essentially an entrepreneur, and I didn't know what that was going to be. I didn't know I would run across this industry. I didn't know, it would be specifically in the industry of network marketing. And I'm grateful, and I thank God that it was, because it's changed my life. But I just wanted to do anything. I wanted to be an entrepreneur and start something of my own, period. So when my first introduction to investing, I actually started two businesses, and I invested my own money that I was working at the time from a 9 to 5 into those businesses. And the first business was a cleaning business. So it was called Much Better Cleaning Services. And it was just a cleaning business that my friend, my buddy and I, Jamie Oladimiji, we started. Actually filed the paperwork, started it, and it didn't really pan out. We didn't really like push through with it, but it would have been good because it was right before COVID. So we always talk about it all the time, how during that time, us investing into that would have been a major, major thing. So that was kind of like my first introduction. And then after that, I started a tax business as well, that I didn't really pursue. But, I made an investment of, let's say, $5,000, and I didn't win from it. I made, when the tax season came around, I made about $500 to $600. And that right there, I lost on that investment. So that was literally my first initial investment.
So even so, like you started a tax business. For those of you who don't know, Emron went to school. He actually went to school for accounting. So like starting a tax business, starting a cleaning business, doing your business today. Like how do you feel like the importance of accounting is with the different businesses you did have? And you said, okay, I put $5,000 into the business, but I only made $500, $600. Some people may not understand like, oh, I technically have a loss on my business right now. So really just tell the people how do you see accounting and how do you see the importance of accounting with running your own business?
For sure. I mean, if you don't know, like in any business, if you don't, it's all a numbers game. It's all about revenue. It's all about, what you're making at the end of the day. It's all about profit and revenue. If you're not really making profit or making revenue, I've heard from mentors that it's not necessarily a business yet at that point. And it's not to discredit it, it's to just more so look at it as then the goal is to be able to make some sort of money from the investment or the business that you're running. So even in this business, like being able to understand your profit, and for some of us, what I mean by profit is your enrollment fee. Once you pay that 250, the beautiful thing about GFU, I see it, is the fact that this is one of the few businesses that your return on investment, it can never not happen because of things like the travel voucher. You know what I mean? So in terms of like any business, just being able to understand your finances in business is one of the reasons why people succeed or don't succeed, or have longevity or don't have longevity, for sure.
Mm. Yep, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And I would say, like, even following up on that is so, like, understanding business, understanding finances. You've been an entrepreneur for a long period of time. Congratulations on that. So, what would you say is your or was your greatest financial lesson, and what has been your greatest financial achievement so far
For
within your
sure,
career?
for sure. I would say my greatest financial lesson, and when I say lesson, I would take that as I would say like lesson, equaling a loss, or I would say also just something that I learned along the way that I could have did better. And not that I could have did better because I'm still in it right now, being able to move forward. But I would say just being able to understand how to diversify. That's one of my greatest lessons. I feel like in business or just as an entrepreneur, sometimes I'm a person that I get very um I'm all in every single thing that I do. So I kind of have to learn, or my greatest lesson has been, in business at the end of the day, you can't marry um, one thing, or you can't marry one investment, or you can't marry one business or anything like that. You have to learn how to diversify your money because there's going to be a day where this one thing slows up, and
Mhm.
whatever that is, you know what I mean? And you have to be able to make sure, if you're a person that understands diversification, then you're going to be able to say, okay, guess what? This slows up. This thing is still feeding me. So I'm learning. But my greatest achievement probably has been just ownership, honestly, just being able to have some sort of ownership in something. Because through all of the trials and the tribulations, one of the greatest feelings is owning something.
Mhm.
Um, and the reason that I say that is because one, it's yours and you can have multiple things to do with it. And I'll probably get into that later, but it's tangible. It's an asset, meaning that you can sell it for something if it ever came down to it. Um, and I would say, other than that being like my greatest achievement is being able to help, purchase my mother a house. Not being able to buy the whole house for her, but give her a lump sum of cash to be able to go ahead and, be able to move out of where she was. So greatest achievements for sure.
Nice. So like you mentioned like diversification, like, oh, you wish you diversified more. So for like somebody like on this call, and we're gonna like talk about like your younger self, but if you're like your mentees, the people that you like coach lead, where would you tell them to diversify in? Like, what do you think is like, hey, like if I had to do this all over, I would diversify more into this asset or this actual opportunity. Like, which diversification? How does that look for you?
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, diversification, um, it really is learning about, like where can your money grow? Like we make residual income through the compensation plan, and I want everybody to understand that this business is so fruitful because it is the gateway to everything else. And I look at this business as a cash cow, just me being fully transparent. I know for a fact that in business I want to be able to do a lot of great things in life, outside of even just this industry. But I understand I prioritize this industry over a lot of my other businesses right now as we speak. I post about this business more than a lot of other businesses as we speak. And the reason being is because, I want to be able to gain certain resources here and be able to diversify, and things that I would kind of tell somebody to diversify in and just learn about. Is one is going to be real estate, when you get to that point, for sure. And two is just being able to take advantage of things even in the platform, where those many just diversifications, things like e-commerce, things like trading right now. If that's where you have to start, let's start there because that's where I started. And right now, even to this day, I made $164 today. So those are the places right now that I would say start your diversification. Yeah, you're building a business, and that's amazing. But diversify within the platform as well, and then you'll be able to get there through certain conversations on ways or what you can put for sure.
Does everybody know what he means by diversification? Does everybody know what like the meaning of diversification is? We talked about it in one of our calls. Just want to make sure everybody's okay, cool. And essentially, like what he's trying to say is like you need like you have the money. Okay, if you have money in e-commerce, put your money from e-commerce and utilize it in trading. Then okay, put your money from trading, utilize it into your high yield savings account. So when things come to shove, or push comes to shove, it's not like I'm depending on one thing to live my life. You have multiple things to live your life. And like he's like one thing he said, I definitely want to talk to him about real estate as well. It's like real estate diversification, and even like talking to before we get into like real estate with Emron. Emron is a person who owns real estate in the States. Like he has like an amazing and beautiful property in New York. I'm not going to say the exact location unless he wants to. And he has a property overseas as well. And it's just like having that diversification where this is a guy, he's going to like talk about the process as well too, but this is a guy who has tenants and also has Airbnb. So like you have access to somebody's like who's doing the things in real time. He's probably doing it like as we speak. And then those are the things that you want to diversify into. But even like before we can get to the point of, oh, this guy is an Airbnb player, this guy has tenants, this guy has systems in place. I want to talk to you about like the home buying process. So you said you bought a house for your mother, you bought a house, built it for yourself. Like as an entrepreneur, like how, like I guess what is something that you learned from the home buying process specifically? Just like, oh, I didn't know this beforehand, but I learned this, and it's like, okay, this is important for me as an entrepreneur.
For sure. Man, I remember the home buying process. So I bought my first property in 2021. But that process was, it taught me a lot. Honestly, it taught me a lot. Obviously you got to learn the home buying process and you do as you go, but it taught me about myself personally. And one thing I've learned, along that way, my mother, I have like a recording of my mother one day. She actually, we had a conversation and I just recorded the conversation because I just wanted to keep it, for forever, honestly. But there was a day we were on the phone and she was telling me this is during the home buying process, because I'm a person that everything in life, I want it now. That's just me. I want to be able to be successful now. I want to be rich now. I want to, have the perfect life now. And I don't think there's a problem with that. But I do think that it causes me to, maybe probably not be all the way, how I should be. But what she told me on that conversation, I'll never forget. She said, Imran, you don't have faith. And she was like, also what I learned about you, you don't have patience. And that's like real. This is me just being real transparent. And, she could tell you. But I learned patience and I learned just faith through that process, honestly speaking. Outside of everything else in terms of the whole home buying process, like what you need, just like characteristics that I learned about myself was that, because it's not an overnight process. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you get a house in a week. And, you don't always get it. You may get denied on certain things. So, I wanted a specific home at that time. And I was afraid, or I wasn't faithful enough that I was going to be able to get that specific, piece of real estate that I had my heart set out on. And that could be disappointing if you're like, damn, I want this one. And you come back and the bank tells you no, or whatever the case may be. So those are, just characteristics that I learned.
Yeah, and I would say too, like I think that's like especially with my son now, right now, and myself, patience. That's like been my word for this year. Like meditation, everything I'm doing is like how to be patient, because everything doesn't come when you want it to come. It's when God wants you to have it. And I think like throughout that process, like learning patience, that's like a big thing, especially like even in this opportunity, like, oh, I want to like bust through the ranks, all this stuff, but you may not even be ready. Not saying you, just anybody may not even be ready for what's to come. You have to build yourself throughout that process. So that's definitely something dope to learn. So I know like on the calls too as well, people ask like for like Airbnb and things of that nature. So like you doing
Sure.
Airbnb and long-term tenants, like which one do you prefer? Like how has the process been like for like Airbnb, things of that nature?
Man, so this is me being fully transparent. I want to, and I really wanted to be able to take advantage of this call today, just to be able to share my experiences. Drop a 7 in the chat if you guys like really want to know. Just transparently, because everybody, wants to, know about real estate. Drop a 7 in the chat. And that's why I love these opportunities, because me being able to share experiences with you can help you learn and be better than me. That's the purpose, the sole purpose of this call. So I have a multifamily unit, right? I have a multifamily unit in New York. And I feel like, I'm blessed. And when I look at it, I'm blessed because God has allowed for me to go through certain experiences at the young age that I am, to be able to go ahead and mentor and guide people. And I knew there was going to come a day where I would be able to share kind of my testimony. And that testimony is still not even over, but I'm going to, I'm going to share it. So basically, I bought a house in 2021. It's a multifamily, thank you. It's a multifamily unit, right? So there's multiple tenants in there, and there's also an Airbnb. But one of the tenants, hasn't paid me rent now for 18 months. And I'm actually still going through a lawsuit. So she still lives in there. I come out of pocket, my own money, right? I just want to put this into perspective. So 18 months, I have not received a single check from this individual. And it's been taking a toll. But as a hustler, as an entrepreneur, you got to figure it out. You got to figure it out. And these are things that I'm not, I rarely share with the world because they're just my own problems. And these are the things that, it comes along. So I know I want to be able to provide the good, but I also want to be able to provide a perspective of what could happen, because everybody talks about the greats of real estate. Everybody talks about the greats of things, and it is amazing. And there's still ways to be able to benefit it. And I'm sure we're going to talk about it. But to answer your question, I always think that being able to go short-term rental versus long-term, in my opinion, versus my experience within these past almost 3 years now, is way better, because I never want to personally deal with tenants. You know what I mean? When somebody comes into an Airbnb or your house, it's an Airbnb, they go and they leave, or they come and they leave. But when somebody's there are certain laws that are set in place to be able to allow for you to go through certain processes. I have to pay, lawyer fees that, I don't speak to anybody about. Every single time I appear in court, I have to pay my lawyer, on top of she not paying $2,700 a month for that unit. So there's a lot that I, deal with and bear with on a day-to-day basis, but I'm learning as I go. And the last thing to say to that is God, also has blessed for the ability to have Airbnb, which is an amazing thing. So at one point she was, able to, or the Airbnb was able to cover what she was missing. Just me transparently, just giving you guys the raw, authentic, me. We went to court, and she actually said I had an Airbnb, so I could not provide an Airbnb anymore. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, now, not only is she not paying me for 18 months, this is very real. Not only is she not paying me for 18 months, but also what's happened now is she took away my income. Mm-hmm. It's real life. So I hope, drop a 7 in the chat if just, it's not a great story, but it's something that you can be able to learn from. Yeah. Just my experiences.
And I would we need some 777s in the chat. Like there's multiple things I want to talk about this as well. Like first, like the Airbnb, like we may see on Instagram, social media, I'm an Airbnb host. I have made $200,000 in a month. I sublease, and it's kind of like a lot of the stuff that we may see, we're just seeing the good. We're seeing, oh, this is how great it could be. It also saw the good. But even with any opportunity, with real estate, with network marketing, with accounting, whatever industry that you're in, there's going to be good and there's going to be bad. And you need those people who's like how Imran's doing right now. You need those people who's transparently going to tell you what's the good about it, and they're also going to tell you the bad. And that's where I feel like real mentorship comes into play. Because now he's teaching us all these things on a call throughout this platform, so we don't have to make the same mistakes that he's made. And that's the true definition of mentorship. Mentorship is not, oh, when things are going good, you tell me how it's doing good. It's also supposed to help me when things are going bad as well. How to avoid, okay, I'm going down the street, you either make a left or a right. Emron's telling you right now, hey, I made a left before. The left is not the right way to go. You should make a right, and that's where mentorship comes into play. And even the last point I want to make about this too is like multiple streams of income. Like even within this one property that he has multiple properties. This one property he has, you're seeing the different levels of income that he has. And we talked about different incomes. He has the rental income where, okay, he has the tenants, maybe one tenant's not paying him. He still has another tenant paying him, but he also has the Airbnb component as well. So when you have those different, like multiple sets of income within one play, then you don't really have to depend on one thing to keep that thing going, keep that thing sustained. So don't like the game that he's telling us right now, like I said at the beginning, these are not things that you find anywhere. You're not gonna go on like a social media app and people tell you like, okay, this is what's really happening in the field. So I appreciate you for doing that for the people, Imran.
Sure.
And to even piggyback off that, it's like I see your resilience, I see your focus. Like, what do you think are some things that define like your work ethic? Like to always like keep that positive attitude, keep that good spirit. Because somebody in your position, maybe like 18 months, like, oh nah, you're like, you may not even want to talk about it. You'll be upset all the time. Like you wouldn't even tell like, oh, this was going on within your life. So what keeps that like positive attitude and that work ethic that you have?
For sure. I'm gonna be honest. It's definitely every day isn't, it hurts because first things first, when you kind of total it up, guys, 18 months, you can do the math, 2,700 a month that it's supposed to be. You can probably kind of like put it into perspective on how much money I've, lost out on so far when it comes to that. How much is that? If somebody can add it up. But it's a lot of money, it's a lot of money. And, I say that to say, anybody that's almost $50,000 that she owes, that's crazy. But at the same time, I do have my days where I'm like, damn, that's crazy. Like it's really, it's really tough on me. But at the same time, I'm gonna be honest. Like I have great people in my corner to kind of keep me up on it. Because people tell me just in life, my circle, my village, they tell me in life, let's say, the goal isn't to own just one or two properties. These are the type of things. If you're looking to get 100 doors, 100 units, this is what it's going to come with. And you got to be grateful for the fact that it happened at 26 years old. My birthday is November. You have to be grateful that it happened at 26 because now you know what to do for the next 98 doors of buildings or properties that you're looking to get. Mm-hmm. So, I'm just using this as a learning lesson, like it may hurt from a standpoint of like financially with that, investment. But at the same time, that was never the goal to just have that. So just keep thinking bigger. That's what I kind of do, honestly.
Bigger picture. And like, that's like the focus. Like if you the bigger picture, that's dope. Cause now it's like, if you're looking at it from like a small lens, it's like, oh snap, like I'm losing money on this one tenant. But if he's like saying, oh, I want 100 doors, big range, you got 100 tenants, one tenant's not paying rent. It's like, oh, it's a deal, you want to deal with it, but it's not really not going to hurt you that much. So that's like having that bigger picture. And even saying like I would say too, just speaking to people transparently, working with Imran, like Imran's one of those few people, like the plays that he's making, like right now, he's 26 years old. These are plays when Imran's 40, 50, 60. Like it's gonna be ridiculous because he took the time to invest when he was 26 years old. So there may be people like, oh, 26 years old, they may be taking the time to, I want to go to a party, I want to link the girls, I want to do other type of vibes. By the time they get to 40 or 50, they're going to be doing what Imran did at 26 years old, and he's on the next path. So just having that focus is really, like, I think I commend you on that. I always commended you on that. So like even following up on that as well is, so you invested into different things. So like you experienced the different asset classes. What would you say your favorite asset class is to invest in, and why?
For sure. Honestly, like I said, like I I love, regardless of the loss, I personally love real estate. And the reason being is because there's multiple different ways to play it. And the reason that I say that is because you can pull against it. You can use it as cash flow. You can also be able to gain equity in it. So I say that to say, like, real estate, I know other you can probably name some other what's the word you
Asset
just used?
classes,
Other,
forex, stocks, jewelry,
right. And I would
commodities.
say it's real estate for me, commodities, but I would say it's real estate for me just based off of its ownership, and it's also multiple ways that you can play it. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, I was actually in the barber today, and it's funny enough, I today I'm in the barber this morning at 11:30 a.m. and a guy walks in, and he's an older gentleman, and he's talking about just some of his real estate in Albany and some of his real estate all over. And my barber, he was speaking about, oh, my mother has this house. She purchased it for 65,000 30 years ago. And he was like, the home is now 230,000 and she doesn't want to sell it, but he does. And she wants him to give it to his kids and all of these different things. And I was just listening, like, man, like, he's borrowed against equity, and equity is still growing, but he could sell it if he wanted to and get cash. I just love how many different angles you can be able to work a real estate play from, because when that tenant was doing everything, the profit on what the house was giving me in terms of cash flow was there.
Mm,
After that, it wasn't,
mm,
so it was there, cash flow was there, and equity was building in the home that I
mm,
can take out years from now, and I can always sell it.
mm,
But just because it's not being able to be a cash flowing asset right now,
mm.
I have to be able to think bigger picture and say sometimes, although it does get me mad that, okay, it's not a cash flowing asset, every asset isn't going to be a cash flowing asset. Some assets are going to be an equity asset, and that's what it turned to. So,
That's real. So, like, even like following up on that, like a question I always asked on the wealth management call is, what do you prefer? Do you prefer equity or cash flow, and why? And for the people on the call, just to give like a synopsis, and we talk about this on our call, is I'm going to give an example of cash flow. So equity is essentially he has the building and it's just appreciating value over time. So like you were saying, the person bought that building for $65,000 is worth today $230,000. They just built equity over $100,000 worth of equity. But you can't really, you could touch the equity only if you sell it. You can't, oh, you refinance it, but you can't really say, hey, I got $100,000 equity. I'm about to go to a restaurant and pay for. You can't pay for a dinner with equity.
right,
Cash asset is essentially okay. He has this building and he has to pay $2,000 a month in like monthly fees, whether it be his mortgage, utilities, contractors. But with the rents coming in, he had $5,000 a month coming in rents. So 5,000 minus the 2,000, he has a $3,000 profit. And that's a cash on asset. So this goes for, this is just not real estate. This is like any asset as well, stocks, businesses that you own, things of that nature. So it's just saying, like, and with the equity versus cash flow, there is no right answer. It's just, what do you prefer in your life? What do you feel comfortable with? Just telling people, like, do you prefer equity or cash flow, and why?
man, honestly, first thing, I think they go hand in hand. Honestly, I think if I were to choose, I would want both. I know that's not the question,
Mm,
but I think they're both equally important. And the reason that I say that is because, and this may be my answer, honestly, just to let people know that they are equally important, because you can be equity rich and cash flow poor.
mm.
And I feel like those are some of, like,
Can you explain that to the people too, for the people to understand what that means?
for sure, for sure. So what I mean is, you can have investments, right? You can have property. You can have all of these things that are look good on paper, but at the same time, okay, you need, overhead, your day-to-day expenses. And these are, when I said diversify, again, I always want to be as super transparent as possible. These are mistakes or certain things that I've learned, even being able to purchase real estate, you know, because I want to be able to purchase real estate, but I also want to make sure that I understand, okay, Imran, you need to be able to make sure that your cash flow is proper on a day-to-day basis where, yeah, equity is building and that's amazing. But what is your income? What is your cash flowing? What are you bringing in? So you're not just like stressed on waiting 30 years or 20 years or 10 years for the cash flow. I mean, for the equity. So I would say, to answer your question, they're equally important in my eyes, to
Okay.
be fully transparent.
Okay. Yeah. So does that make sense? Does that make sense to everybody? What he was saying, like cash flow, like be equity rich and cash flow poor. Good. Great. Yeah. And there really is no MS. Yeah, the MSs are coming back. Yeah. And there is no right answer. And I see somebody saying in the chat is like, it really depends on where you're at in life. And that's a great way to look at it. Like somebody who may be young and just not young and wants to go out and have a nice time. Cash flow may be the better asset for you. So like when you're going out to eat or you're going shopping, you have that rent like in your bank account where you could utilize it. You may not be looking at like the equity going down the line, but maybe when you're a little bit older, and okay, you want to buy more properties, you want to start a family, you want to like make bigger purchases. That equity may be a good thing for you because you could be able to sell your property or refinance it to get where you want to get to. So I think that's a great way to put it. It's like where you're at in life. So switching the topic a little bit, how do you feel about credit cards? Do you think credit cards are something that's like advantageous? Do you think it's like, credit cards are like the devil, I don't really need them? Like, how do you feel about credit cards?
Man, when it comes to credit cards, uh, I feel like credit cards are amazing. Honestly speaking, I feel like credit cards are amazing. But you got to be very careful with credit cards. And the reason that I say that is because other people's money, you know, I see Bernard say OPM, other people's money is amazing. Um, but at the same time, a lot of people get stuck in other people's money. Um, and when you get there to that point, you know, that's to me is it's one of the hardest places to come back from.
Mhm.
Like for real, for real. And I say that because I have certain things that I am still paying off, still owing right now. Um, but it really like that's not a good feeling, you know, to be able to owe and you're like, okay, you're paying the minimum, you're paying and you gotta, you know what I'm saying? Like you're especially now is like you're the interest. So it's like drop a 7 in the chat if you ever it's like, damn, I just paid 300 and now it's back. Like you got the 270 interest. It makes no sense to me. I think that is the biggest scam in the world.
Mhm.
Like I think interest is the biggest scam in the world. And I feel like honestly, like you know, credit cards are amazing, but credit cards with no cash, it's a trap.
Yeah. And that's where like you saying like cash flow, that's where the cash flow comes into play. And I
For
feel like
sure.
what you're saying with the credit cards, like even for everybody on this call, like when you're looking at the credit cards, when they're selling somebody a credit card, they put all the nice stuff, the color of it, the benefits, but there's always in the little small little letters on the statement, it's gonna say, yeah, your annual interest rate is 24%, 25%, something outrageous. It's intentional. All that is intentional for us not to see it, for us not to look at it, and just like, okay, this is the interest that comes on it. So, like, I think like I have the same perspective. I think credit cards are good for an individual if you know, like, when you utilize it for the right thing. Like, if you're utilizing it to like, oh, I'm about to use it to build my business up the correct way, using it to invest in my property the correct way, then you're gonna like, okay, the value that I'm gonna get for it using other people's money, then it's fine. I think where some people get lost into is like the credit cards, where it's just like I'm just frivolously spending, and then it's like, oh, it's like having a nice time, enjoying yourself, and that's where things like get caught up. So like I do have the same perspective on credit cards. Two more questions.
Mhm.
Member of your GFU team is now making 5 figures, 4 or 5 figures. What financial next steps would you encourage?
When you say 4 to 5 figures, is that like 4 to 5 figures
A month, a
a
month.
month?
So like Yeah, a month. That's what you're making on a monthly basis. Like what it could be like little things that you like to encourage. Like, hey, I want you to open up a savings account. I want you to put more in your forex account. I want you to like do a budget. It could be anything. Like what are you encouraging for your leaders?
For sure. I would say first thing is to seek some sort of financial help. You know what I'm saying? Like get a different perspective outside of just yourself or what you think. That's the first thing that I would say. Um, Also, what I would say is something that I've just been able to do just throughout my whole life is live on minimum, honestly speaking. I always like I was working a 9 to 5. I just lived on a minimum. You know what I mean? Like, let's say my check was, and I'm not gonna say a number because this is like very harsh how I did it.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have did it even more just in terms of like my last company, but you get caught up in things. But yeah, like live on the very minimum. Let's say, for example, you're making $1,000 a week, or whatever the case may be. Try to live off the minimum of that and put everything else up. That's what I would say. Like saving is a big part of wealth too. And that's something that I'm learning along the way. Like, okay, yeah, investing is amazing. But sometimes you got to save up for the rainy day. Sometimes you want to make sure that, okay, when it all comes down to it, you still have something. And I've learned that just, in terms of through experiences, through my own, things that I didn't do. And I also learned that through just seeing other people do it. My dad, so definitely I would say that.
Yeah, and I like even just talking about the saving component. I was on Manny's call up Wednesday, and he said I never seen anybody go broke saving. And that's like it's such a like a simple sentence, but it's real. Like you can't go broke saving money. If you make $1,000 a week and you put $800 into your savings account, the $200 that you're living off of, okay, you spend that 200, that 800 is still there. And I think that's like a great component to have. Like it's also like even commending you for like the mental mindset that you do have, because everybody doesn't have that like mindset of like, okay, I'm going to live on like a minimum, even though I know I'm getting more bigger checks. To have that psychology is like, okay, I'm going to split this in half or do an 80-20 where I spend 20 and keep 80. And what he's doing is he's thinking about his future self. And that's like the concept that we want to get in like wealth management and just like focusing on growing as an individual financially. Just think about your future self. And I'm not talking about your future self for next week or next year. I'm talking about your future self when you're 5 years from now, 10 years from now. How do you envision your life? And that's what he's doing. So I commend you on that as well. Question I want to ask too is like talking about future self. What are some financial goals you have for the future? And what steps are you taking today to achieve those goals?
For sure. Man, some of my financial goals are I'm gonna be honest, like my biggest goal in life, um, I always said this, and people closest to me know, but my biggest goal in life is to play like real life Monopoly. Just like I love that game, just in real life. So one of my biggest goals is to be able to own. Like I want to own properties on properties on properties on properties. I want to be able to go to like a different city, and I know, okay, you know what, I can stay at my house in this city. I feel
Nice.
like that's an amazing thing where you can go in countries as well. Exactly, Bernard. Where I can go to Jamaica and I can say, okay, I can stay in Jamaica, or I can go to New York and I can go to my own house in New York. I can go to my own building in Atlanta, or go to this and this and that. And I feel like that's one of my biggest like financial goals. Just from a money standpoint, man, I'm looking to like I've only made $1 million, and I say that, and I know people are gonna be like, "Damn, you said only," but I'm just talking about compared to like some of my mentors or people who I'm kind of like, just holding myself to that standard. And $1 million is not a lot. I'm gonna be fully transparent. It's not, so it's definitely doable for everybody on the call, especially through the platform of GFU. But I'm looking to make millions of dollars through this space, millions of dollars through this space. So those are some of my financial goals, and what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis to get there is one, honestly, like I'm in this business. I'm using this as the vehicle to be able to do so. And every single person on this call, do so. like use this business as a vehicle to do so, because at the end of the day, I'll say this. I'll say this. If I was in it for, if I was in life to make a couple 100,000 or a couple of thousands, then I wouldn't be doing this. You know what I mean? Because I'm an educated individual. I don't have to, do this specifically to make money, but I want to be able to live the most highest, grandest vision for my life that I see fit possible. And sometimes in entrepreneurship, it's not, people don't become entrepreneurs because this is a facade. People don't become entrepreneurs because entrepreneurs make more money. That's not always true. Sometimes the majority of entrepreneurs make less money, but the reason being is because their values are different. So they may value, an entrepreneur may not value money, and it's their harsh reality. And this is just me being honestly, transparently speaking with all of you. They may value their time more. They may value their freedom more. That's what they value. But then, you may have somebody who values the money more, the way of living more. And so it's just it all it's a trade-off, man. Like it's a trade-off. And when you get to the point where you can be both, let's say you're an entrepreneur and you are making money, that's when life gets good. And then the same thing, like let's say you're working, a regular job. There's nothing wrong with that as well. Boom, and you're making a lot of money. There's that's just as amazing. It's all about what it is that you value, and both ways can be able to give you an amazing lifestyle and wealth management, the things that we're talking about. So that's one thing that the narrative that I want to paint. And somebody said, when did you make your first million? 24 years old. So I mean, 2 years ago.
Nice. What are your thoughts? Nice, 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 nice. So can we get some Hemrons in the chat? Can we get some Hemrons in the chat? Hemron, 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 Hemron.
I
Yes.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Hemron, for coming to do this call. There was a lot of value. He gave us a lot of value of what he's done within this space and what he's done also outside of this space as well. And I would say Emron is one of those individuals too, like to have like a mentor, like, oh, having somebody like that as your mentor it's a beautiful thing because very rarely do you see one somebody with the experience to really speak on different things. That's like a lot of people don't have the experience. And two, also somebody that's transparently telling you like, okay, these are my wins and my losses. Like a lot of what we see is people's highlight reels. Like he could very well just show you his highlight reel. This is what I've done. This is what I did. But he's also telling you like, this is what I learned as well throughout the process. And that's why we're doing this whole thing is so that we as like individuals that like, okay, we've done this before. Okay, let's make it so you don't have to do this. So when Naomi or Bernard, somebody has to go through the same process that Amron went through, they could always pull back from this call to say, oh, I did this wealth management call with Emron, and he told me this, that, and the third with thing, or I should go this way instead of that way, or when I'm in this industry, this is what I should be doing with my money. Because naturally, a lot of people are not getting this information, getting this value. So I appreciate you, Emron, for doing this. As always, for your community, like doing this for the community, doing this for the space. I want everybody to say thank you to Emron for taking the time out his day to speak with us. And it's been a pleasure to have you, bro. It's been a pleasure.
Sure. Likewise, man. Likewise. I just want to give a huge shout out to you as well for everything that you're doing. And, thank you. Thank you. Give some shout outs back to Nicholas Samuel, man. Keep tuning in, guys, to these wealth management calls because I'm just going to say this. I know it's 7. If I had these calls within my last company, I guarantee you, I guarantee you, I'm telling you, because I'm not like an idiot. I consider myself a very intelligent and smart guy. I guarantee you more could have been done. So the fact that you guys are getting it now at whatever rank that you are, do not take it for granted, please, because it can really change your life and set you up. Like all you need, honestly speaking, guys, is like one good play to set your life up forever. You got to realize I joined a company in 2018 or in 2019. My life has never been the same since, and I didn't do it perfectly. right? So you got to think. You got to think. Right now, G Fool, take it serious. Take building your business serious. Go back in your chats and go drop director, because director, or the binary, go drop binary. Go drop the compensation plan in your chats. Go take it there. Go max out the comp plan. The reason that I say that is because you look at that and you only equate it to the money, but there's things that people want to talk about that come after. You know what I mean? Like, there's real life that me and my guys and my friends and my bros and sisters, we want to do after, and I'm sure you do too. So when you hear these individuals telling you, okay, you know what, like, build a business, you got to realize there's a grander vision than just you being able to do it, and that's the sole purpose of it. So that's what I want to say, man. Nick, shout out to you, my brother.
I
Looking
appreciate
forward
it,
to it.
boss. Appreciate it, boss. Everybody enjoy their weekend. Everybody enjoy their week. Appreciate it.